It's insensitive.
All right. Okay.
You see how I look at the girl.
Hi guys, my name's Nicole. I'm gonna be a nurse today. How many people actually expect their nurse to come into the room like that for 12 hours throughout the shift?
I think all of them.
They all expect
They
it.
expect you to.
But in real life, how many of us actually go into a room where are like that through the entire 12-hour shift? No, right? All right. So this project is basically going to talk about nurse fatigue, nurse burnout, nurse fatigue, nurse frustrations, being stressed out. All that's covered in this PowerPoint. This is typically how we feel on a daily basis when we come to work, during, and after. So this chart is basically some causes through a survey that they did in 2017 about what are some causes of burnout. So some of the things are difficult colleagues or staff, compassion fatigue, difficult employer, not getting paid enough to do what you do. We can all relate to that. So in the emergency department here, there's been an increased report of nurse fatigue, and it's complicating nursing care and impacting patient outcomes. That's pretty much two of the basic things: the nursing care that we're giving, and then the outcomes of the patients. If we're fatigued and we're frustrated, we can't give 100% to our patients. At the end of the day, patients are kind of what we focus on. That's our main goal, taking care of them. So based on evidence and research that I've done on nurse fatigue, it's not only just our department, it's a global issue. Fatigue isn't just a one aspect type of thing, it's multifaceted, and it's affecting nurses all around. So this project, what I did was try to analyze data through nursing articles and incorporate these data into relevant information to develop policies and procedures to help us as a department improve what we're doing to help alleviate our stresses. So the goal of this project is to establish an action report to facilitate the development of new policies and procedures. It also discusses the importance of educating our staff on the effects of fatigue and how it bears on patients, nurses, hospital systems, and the satisfaction, safety, wellness, and the outcomes. I also kind of focused a little bit on different ways that we can show staff appreciation. I feel like that's one of the areas here that we don't really do. We do our job great, but we don't get that thank you, that pat on the back. That goes a long way, I think, personally. Somebody just comes up to me and be like, hey, you know what, I appreciate what you did. That really helped me out. That'll motivate me. That'll pick my spirits up and let me want to do something else again. Also, the last sentence here basically says that we want to build an environment that facilitates nurses speaking up, or techs speaking up, or anybody speaking up if they feel frustrated or fatigued about anything. All right, so let's define fatigue. So based on the English dictionary, it says that fatigue is a physical and or mental state of exhaustion with triggers from stress, medication, being overworked, mental and physical illness or disease. All right, in my opinion, mental and physical disease, I get that, but honestly, it's an emotional thing. So we also have to include emotion into that too. So physical, mental, and emotional issues. So why focus on this? Why is this important? This is a picture of our brain on fatigue. Every part of our brain is being activated at this point. We're stressing our entire mind out, as you can see from this illustration. So it lowers job satisfaction. It causes high turnover rates. That's one of the main things I would kind of talk about. We've all noticed that turnover rate. That's kind of increased in the past couple months even. It leads to many adversities in nursing care. Affects not only nurses, but it also affects patients and staff. So as far as for nurses, poor judgment, reduced fine motor skills, coordination, confusion, low reaction times, slow responses, and we have the inability to focus and have attention lapses. When this happens, we make errors. So for patients, poor patient outcomes, low patient satisfaction, and induced medical errors, decreasing safety. An individual and personal effects from fatigue. We have fatigue at work. Who leaves their work fatigue at work? No, you bring that home, you vent to your spouse or your best friend, and you bring that home. Or when you have stress at home, you bring that to work sometimes. So it increases emotional, physical, and psychological complaints, back pain, feet pain, migraines, headaches, not sleeping well, things like that. It interferes with home life. You know your husbands don't want to come home and hear you like, nah, 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 nah. It's okay, we do it. But they have their own stress, so it's kind of like it interferes with personal relationships, basically. And increased susceptibility, it's been proven. Night shift nurses have an increased susceptibility to viruses and cold because they're slightly more stressed. So what's the impact of nurse fatigue in the emergency department? Okay, I can honestly say in the past week, we've had some nurses cross-train over into the ED. That's been great, but even they've said the stress level in the ER is a lot higher than what they've expected. Our rhythm, our speed, what we do is very different. So it affects us differently. It says many nurses are looking for new positions in different departments, different hospitals, because they feel overworked, underappreciated, and fatigued. Underappreciated, that's a really, really big thing. Just like I was saying thank you. Nobody says thank you, which is sad. So patient satisfaction is basically lower in the ED when it's on the floor. Why do you think that is? We don't sit in patient's room for 20 minutes and 30 minutes and actually have the time to sit there and give them the type of patient care. We get in, we get out, we give them what we need the best way possible, but we're getting a new patient in another room, or we have a trauma going on. So it's a different environment. We also have an issue with non-flexible poor work scheduling, these mandatory on-call shifts. I mean, come on, really? And then we have constant shortages, understaffing, challenging work environments, and we're having conditions where nurses and techs are having to work in conditions that are disproportionate to demands. So they're wanting more from us than we're actually physically capable of doing, but they're expecting it from us. So that's stressing us out. All right, let's see what else we got. This is an illustration. No, she's not having a seizure. She always panics like this and has an attack right before her shift. I thought that was kind of cute. All right, so why are we here right now? This issue between Eggleston, Hughes Spalding, and here, all the ERs are having issues. All these nurses, they're seeing a high turnover rate. It's not just here. And like I said before, it's a global issue, but our focus is going to be on CHOA. The quality improvement issue of scheduling, long shift hours, and understaffing appear to be a unanimous adversity that we're all facing. But again, like I was saying earlier, it's not just, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to mention it now. It's not just a staff thing. It's not nurses, it's not techs, it's not whoever else that we have as story. It's actually a management issue too. So it's all of us that have to come together and work together as a culture, as an organization. So despite the large amount of evidence and research that we've got all across the internet, nothing's really being done to kind of make a positive move toward making this better. So this is kind of what this project is, kind of just like a highlight, like a flag, like a red flag. Hey, I'm here. This is an issue here. Can we do something about it? What can we do about it? Right. We can't keep doing what we're doing because it's not healthy and it's not working. So change is needed. Why? Nurse burnout, 1 in 3 inadequate staffing is reported. 2 in 5 units of short staff. 54% of nurses from this allnursingschool.com said that they have excessive workloads. Personally, I think it's a lot higher, but that's what they reported. That's fine. 96 out of 100 nurses report fatigue at the beginning of their shift. If they're fatigued at the beginning of their shift, the rest of their shift for 12 hours is going to be lacking and incompetent to what they're supposed to be doing as far as patient care. So entwined in this complex web of just issues, cause and effects of issues, fatigue is basically the root cause of a lot of the problems that we're having, especially with patient outcomes and satisfaction. And it holds a substantial amount of responsibility to improve welfare just across healthcare in diverse settings, so not just here. But we're gonna have to start somewhere. So as far as statistics go, 98% of nurses in a hospital across the U.S., they did it in 250 nurses across hospitals, 98% said that their work is physically and mentally demanding. 98%. Well, that's a lot. But you expect that, so that's understandable. 85% of those nurses says that their job causes fatigue overall. That's still high. The next one that we have is that 63%, it's over half of nurses, says that their job causes them burnout. Why? Why do you think that is?
You're lacking somewhere.
They're lacking somewhere. What are some places that are lacking that you guys have noticed that we're lacking here? I mentioned a couple, especially understaffing,
and lack of sleep and
lack of sleep and lack of support. Good, that's a good one. That's one of the things that we're going to cover eventually. But it's nice to hear that you already feel that way. That I'm not just telling you what I've read or researched or anything like that. Did you know that nurses, when a nurse has had 6 hours or less of sleep in a 24-hour period, which is definitely something that I've done personally, the chances of an error of happening is 3.4%. So I'm already behind the 8 ball when it comes to making errors. In comparison to alcohol, this is what I thought was pretty interesting. So after being awake for 19 hours, which is something that we all do, especially when we work back to back or we have a family that we have to go home to, we're off the next day, you gotta stay awake. A nurse's cognitive impairment is similar to a blood alcohol content of 0.05. Above the legal limit. Yes, I agree. So the objectives that I'm going to cover here, and kind of, these are just some of the objectives of what I want to get through with this project. I want to incorporate surveys and questionnaires, kind of get them out there, see how you guys feel, get your perspectives, how you feel. This can be from how I see it. Not everybody sees the same way I do. Not everybody learns and expresses themselves the same way I do. So I've developed surveys and questionnaires that I'll send out eventually through management and emails. I'm going to offer some effective alternatives for scheduling. That would be, I think, awesome. I'm going to go through some of those. Try to improve our work environment conditions, improve patient and staff satisfaction. If we're not satisfied, patients are not satisfied. If our patient's not satisfied, we don't get paid. Point blank period. We want some opportunities to express ourselves, improve outcomes for our patients, and then we'll evaluate. So this is my favorite slide. Who says nursing stressful? I'm 39 and I feel great. I hope so. The American Nurses Association has already addressed nurse fatigue as an issue. It's like I said, it's not just a staff issue; it's a management issue. We are dealing with issues that are increasing demands physically, mentally, emotionally, and we're not adjusting anything. We're just dealing with it, unfortunately. All right, so this kind of just gives you an example of the physical fatigue of what nurses are going through, kind of some examples. Foot pain, we've got back pain, workplace violence. So it basically says that the significance of reducing nurse fatigue in order to improve overall patient care. So we've all had to develop a PICO question, and my question is, how will these action reports that I have suggested, how are they going to change scheduling issues, work environment conditions, and shift hours to improve dimensions of nurse fatigue compared to what we have in place? So that's pretty much what I'm in comparison for. This slide. This poor patient, you look like you're really tired and not well at all. Should I call the nurse? Nah, thanks. I am the nurse. All right, so there's obviously some evidence out there for change. I'm going to kind of cover that fairly quickly. It's just some articles that I researched and went through. We've got research from ANA, Emergency Nurses Association, but there is evidence that these long shift hours, these 12-hour shift hours, these mandatory overtime that we have to do, all these are increasing fatigue and it's making our situation worse. The disruption of sleep. Whenever I come to work and I haven't had sleep, that's an issue for me. I'm not very pleasant. Not to my coworkers, not to, doctors. Definitely probably not to my patients. I try my best, but I can't guarantee it. I'm not as pleasant as I can be. It's also saying that it directly affects the aspect of what I just said, performance and quality of patient care. Oh, and patient safety negatively. Let's just point that out. So how many people have known this? This lady's doing CPR and a patient comes in talking about his finger being in pain. I've been waiting 10 minutes. When can I get something for this cold? It's not going to get better on its own. Every shift, right? People in the waiting room, when am I going to get called? I'm sorry, the kid that has half their leg hanging off. We tend to take that as acuity. The thing is, they don't understand acuity. They see it as, I came here first, I want to be seen in order.
Right.
So when a nurse is fatigued or burnt out, she's not going to have the patients to say, hey, this is what we do, this is how it is. Instead, they're going to be a little aggressive, talking in a little agitated tone. So that simple situation where a nurse could have said, hey, you know what, can you talk to this patient for me? Probably would have been like, just wait a minute. That would have been a horrible patient satisfaction right there. And some more evidence for change. So nurse fatigue, this is one from ENA, from Emergency Nurses Association. They published an article about nurse fatigue that supports and explains the significance about reducing this fatigue that we're dealing with. It gives some recommendations, which I've included in this project. This one basically is what I was talking about when you go home to your husband. This husband's saying, I was going to ask you how work was with the severely limited staff, but I think I can already guess. Smart man, I think, personally. All right, so here's some recommendations. basically, we're going to collaborate on risk management. It's something that we're going to have to do. It's not just something that we can fix on our own. We have to reach out for help. We have to talk to each other. Right? It's a multidisciplinary team issue. For this issue, especially for management, we're hiring more nurses, which are great. They're less experienced, and in times of higher demands for us and what we have